Hello, welcome to my April how-to. I'm going to talk today all about interplanting, capitalizing on the sunshine. The clouds are coming back tomorrow and so is the rain. And so I wanted to walk you through these 2 low tunnels that I have planted and talk through my plant spacing and how I interplant and the kinds of things I'm interplanting and really help you create your best spring garden. This is such a great time to get ahead and to really jumpstart your growing season. And when you interplant with the right foods, paired with other slower maturing foods, it just creates a longer duration of harvests from a single bed. So let's get into it. I can't wait to share with you what we've got inside here. The tiara cabbages have been interplanted with radishes and arugula. Those were just planted today, so they haven't come up, but you can see here that there is plenty of plant spacing between the tiara cabbages for a succession of quicker maturing food. So what I've done here is I've done 2 kind of time horizons in this one space. The cabbages won't be ready until end of May, maybe early June this year, the rate we're going, but the radishes will be ready by mid-May, hopefully, or the end of May, and they sit lower. So there's 2 things going on. They are producing at a slightly different time frame and they take up different space vertically. So they will not compete with each other. Then next to those, I have got some spring onions planted, and I planted them as bunches. So I'm planning on harvesting them together in clumps, just lifting up a whole bunch as I need them. And then I've interplanted this next section in a way that I've never interplanted before. And that's the beauty of this, is that you can do kind of whatever you want. So all of the plants in this next planting have about a foot, 1 square foot. Celery can be planted a foot apart, square, and so can bok choy, as well as this head lettuce that I'm growing, the speckled trout. And then finally, the last transplants in this bed include kohlrabi and some more lettuces. And this plant spacing might be a little tight in terms of the iceberg lettuce. That gets pretty big. I've given it more space in another bed, which I'll show you in a minute. So this is kind of an experiment where I'm pushing the plant spacing a little bit. So we're gonna see how that works out. But the kohlrabi, I've done this before. I've interplanted it with kale, and it does great because it's again very fast, 40 to 50 days. So it should be out by sometime in late May. And then the lettuce will come into season early to mid-June, hopefully. While that first bed that I showed you has a lot of fast maturing things like kohlrabi, bok choy, even that celery I could pull pretty early because I've got more celery inside. I'm going to stagger my celery transplants this spring. I've also got, what else do I have in there that's fast? The tiara cabbage is fast. I've got some baby bok choy and things like that that I direct seeded. So that whole bed I am anticipating opens up sometime in June. It'll be where I put like one of my second successions of snap beans and things like that. So I'm already thinking multiple generations ahead in my spaces, in these earliest spaces. And so I try to strategically lump things together in terms of when I think they're gonna mature. So for this next bed, I'm gonna show you, I put all of my red cabbage, my Savoy cabbage, and my larger head cabbages. So the tiaras are mini heads, and that's why they mature quickly. But I've got my Premax cabbages down here, which are probably going to be later June or maybe early July. Red cabbages we usually don't harvest until after the 4th of July. They take a while to size up. And then I can interplant with those. So I've interplanted radishes with those. I've got interplanted Asian greens with those. I've got beets interplanted in some spots. And then I also interplanted with my spinach that overwintered in this bed. I've interplanted my Chinese cabbage, and they look really too close, but they're not, because the spinach is going to mature. It already is mature. I'm going to get several more cuttings off of it, and I can pull it out anytime I want. We're not huge spinach eaters, but I pushed, in order to maximize the planting space in this bed, I pushed my Napa cabbage right next to my spinach. And I did that because I know that the spinach is going to come out sooner than later. If I had sowed them at the same time, I wouldn't have done this plant spacing this close. So it's all about understanding where your plants are in terms of their life cycle and really timing it so that if you don't have a lot of space and you want to put things closer together, you want to offset their growth rates. So you want to pair things that are going to mature quickly next to something that's going to take longer, so that the quicker maturing thing, and they're usually lower growing things like leafy greens or radishes, so that they can complete their life cycle before their neighbors, which are likely going to take up more space and more time, develop kind of a canopy and shade them out. All right, so this is my third bed, and this is another example of me continuing to experiment, and I share this because I want to encourage you to try to find ways that work for you. So again, spinach that overwintered. This spinach overwintered, and it's been uncovered the whole time, so you can see it doesn't look quite as healthy as the stuff that was in the low tunnel because it's had no protection whatsoever. I'm going to enjoy it and eat it and use it as much as I can, but what I've done is I brought they look kind of sad, but they will perk back up. But I brought our beets and I tucked beets into here. I interplanted beets, as you can see, in between these rows. This is also not enough plant space. If these were growing at the same time, it is enough plant space because I am staggering their maturities. So what I mean by that is they're going to establish, they're a little cranky, so it's going to take them a little while here to get their footing under them. And while that happens, I will be aggressively harvesting this. So the beets will become the dominant canopy here. So regardless, they are gonna end up being taller than this spinach at maturity. So what I was able to do again is on either side of these. So these are about 12 inches apart, and so are these. So these are each like 3 inches apart basically. But then on the outside of the spinach, I tucked some cauliflower and Vita Verde and some broccoli. And again, this spacing is maybe a little too tight, but I know that this is coming out sooner than later. And also in this bed, I have my experiment of a block of 9 iceberg lettuce. And I have interplanted iceberg lettuce before, but I really want to see how it does in a block planting. I've never done it just by itself like this. And so unfortunately, by the time I got to this planting, because these are all my leftovers, I didn't have the strength of the seedlings varies. So that in and of itself tells me that that is going to be a staggered maturity as well, because I've got some that were much smaller than some of the really large, healthy looking plants. So, you know, in an ideal world, you know, you've seen the photos of like all of the lettuce exactly perfect at the same stage. That's not what this is going to look like, and that is perfectly okay. So I hope this was helpful and helped you think through how you can maximize your space, no matter how big or small it is. Really finding ways to overlap your succession planting in a way that allows both successions to succeed is the name of the game, and there are innumerable ways to do it. Obviously, I am still finding ways to do it every year, and that is what I think is so joyful about the garden. So I hope you found this helpful, and leave some comments here, interplanting questions, and we will keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching.